pseudoscience, where it lingered for centuries. Adventurers claimed to have found entrances at the poles. Explorers spoke of tunnels leading to secret lands, and authors carried the myth into literature. You remember Jules Verne's tale, Journey to the Center of the Earth. His explorers descended through volcanic shafts, passing prehistoric jungles, ancient creatures, and oceans lit by underground lightning. The story was fiction, yes, but its pages captured the same pulse as the myths, that hidden worlds beneath the ground could mirror or even surpass the wonders above. The myth stretched into modern times as well. In the 19th and 20th centuries, strange reports circulated. Claims of expeditions into hidden inner continents, of encounters with lost peoples, of glowing suns at the Earth's core. These stories were never proven, yet they captivate imaginations. Even now, the idea of Hollow Earth lingers in books, movies, and the quiet corners of the internet, where speculation becomes a form of modern folklore. You wonder why this dream refuses to fade. Why do people across time and space return to it again and again? Perhaps it is because caves, caverns, and tunnels stir something deep within the human mind. When you stand at the mouth of a cave, you stand at the edge of mystery. You see a darkness that could be endless. You cannot know what lies inside unless you dare to enter. And so the imagination fills it with treasure, with danger, with hidden worlds. Perhaps, too, the Hollow Earth myth reflects an inward longing. Just as people search for meaning within themselves, they imagine the Earth as having its own interior soul. They project their desire for hidden wisdom onto the planet, giving it inner kingdoms as mirrors of their own inner worlds. Pause here and let the thought expand. Myths are not lies, but mirrors. They do not always describe reality, but they reveal what people hope for, fear, or dream. In the Hollow Earth, you hear humanity's yearning for discovery, for contact with the unknown, for proof that life extends beyond the surface. You hear a hunger for light in the dark, for meaning beneath the ground, for connection with unseen forces. Science, of course, tells a different story. Seismic waves reveal that the Earth is not hollow, but layered with mantle, outer core, and inner core. The heat within is not a glowing sun, but molten iron, restless and heavy. There are no hidden continents beneath the crust, no secret civilizations with radiant skies. And yet, even as science explains, the myth continues to breathe. It lives not in the rock itself, but in imagination. And isn't that, too, a kind of truth? For imagination shapes the way you see the world. It encourages you to look again, to wonder, to question. Myths remind you that knowledge is never only about facts, but also about the stories you tell yourself when facts are still forming. They are bridges between mystery and understanding. As you walk deeper into your journey, you carry the myths with you. You know the Earth is not hollow in the way legend suggests, but you respect the dream. You honor the voices of those who, without tools of science, still sense that the Earth held secrets within. And perhaps they were not entirely wrong. For while there may be no inner kingdoms of glowing suns, there are indeed hidden worlds underground. Microbial cities, vast caverns, rivers of stone and fire. The truth, in its own way, is as wondrous as the myth. You breathe slowly, letting this reflection settle into your body. Myths are not meant only to be believed or dismissed. They are meant to be listened to. In them, you hear humanity speaking across generations, whispering its questions into the dark. And as you listen, you notice something else. Myths often carry a seed of longing for other worlds. If people imagine vast kingdoms inside the Earth, might it be because they were already dreaming of worlds beyond it? If they imagined suns within, might they have been yearning for stars beyond the sky? The thought lingers, gentle and unresolved. You find yourself standing at the edge of myth and science, realizing both have their place. Science measures what is. Myth dreams of what could be. Together, they remind you that the journey of discovery is not only outward, but also inward. The air grows heavier as you sink deeper into the Earth, though no true air surrounds you here. What you feel is not breath but weight, an invisible pressure pressing on your imagination, the way the deep sea presses on the bodies of creatures far below the waves. Above you lie mountains, rivers, forests, cities, and skies. Below you, the crust continues, carrying the weight of time itself. You pause and picture the rock not as a lifeless wall, but as an ocean, a slow-moving sea whose currents are measured not in moments, but in millions of years. Each layer of stone is like a wave frozen in place, a ripple that once moved but has now hardened into silence. And within these layers, stories wait. They are not written in letters or symbols, but in crystals and fossils, in compressed grains of sand that once lay free on ancient shores. Here in the depth of the earth, time does not pass as you know it. It accumulates. It compresses. Every moment that has ever existed has left a trace, pressed into stone, buried, hidden, and preserved. What you see above ground, mountains rising, valleys carved, rivers flowing, is only the surface of an archive so vast it cannot be read in one lifetime. You picture a fossil, small and delicate, pressed flat in stone. Perhaps it is the imprint of fern, its leaves spread like a hand, frozen in a gesture made millions of years ago. Perhaps it is a shell, once carried on the back of a living creature, now turned to mineral, its spiral recording a pattern as ancient as the sea. Each fossil is like a page in a book, though the book is scattered and incomplete. Yet when scientists read it, piece by piece, they learn of jungles where deserts now lie, of oceans where mountains now stand, of lives that rose, flourished, and quietly vanished. In the layers, you begin to sense not only the weight of stone, but the weight of memory. Earth is not only matter, it is memory embodied. Every layer holds a season, every seam holds a story. You feel as though you're listening to a song too vast to be sung by any voice, a song whose notes are made of quartz and shale, basalt and sandstone. Crystals, too, tell stories. Deep within the earth, under pressure and heat, atoms rearrange themselves into patterns of extraordinary precision. They grow slowly in silence, shaping prisms and facets that seem impossibly exact. A crystal of quartz might have taken thousands of years to form, growing grain by grain in the shadows of rock. Each facet is a memory of conditions long past. The temperature, the pressure, the presence of water. The crystal is not only beautiful, it is a messenger of time. You imagine running your hand along a vein of minerals shining in the dark. It feels as though you are touching the Earth's heartbeat, slow to the rhythm of geological time. For while your heart beats in seconds, the planet's heart beats in centuries, in millennia, in eons. And then there are the deeper records, the layers of sediment built over millions of years. Imagine a river carrying grains of sand year after year, depositing them in a delta. Imagine the weight of more grains falling, compressing those below into stone. Now multiply that process by millions upon millions of years. What you have is a canyon wall, striped with bands of color, red for one age, white for another, black for yet another. Each stripe a record of what the world was like when it was laid down. Each stripe a silent witness to climates, extinctions, and the passage of uncountable days. In the Grand Canyon, for example, you can see nearly 2 billion years of history exposed in a single glance. Each layer tells of oceans that came and went, of mountains that rose and eroded, of creatures that lived and vanished. Standing there, a person can feel both small and infinite, like a single note in a song that has been playing for longer than human minds can truly comprehend. As you descend deeper, the pressure intensifies. Rock presses on rock, just as time presses on memory. The deeper you go, the less accessible the story becomes. Fossils vanish, crystals become distorted, and the stone grows harder, transformed by heat and compression. This is metamorphic rock, born from transformation, like slate from shale, marble from limestone. Even stone itself is not fixed, but alive in the slowest sense, always changing, always remembering in new forms. Pause here and think of your own life. Memories press on you, too. Some are light and easy to carry, like sand slipping through fingers. Others are heavy, layered deep, compressed by years of living. And just as the earth turns sediment to stone, you turn moments into memory, shaping them into something enduring. You, too, are a geology of experiences, layered and pressed together by time. As you breathe into this thought, you feel a quiet kinship with the planet. You and the earth are not so different. Both of you carry histories, some visible, some hidden, some so deeply buried they can only be glimpsed in fragments. And both of you are still changing, still forming, still alive in ways that time itself can barely measure. The deeper you go, the darker it becomes. Here, heat begins to rise. Pressure builds. At these depths, time feels heavy, as if the moments themselves are weighted by the rock that surrounds them. Yet even here, in this dense silence, stories persist. Zircon crystals, tiny and unassuming, can hold the memory of Earth's earliest days. Some are over 4 billion years old, older than the moon, older than the oceans, older than almost anything else that still exists. To hold one would be to touch the dawn of the planet itself. It is here that you realize the Earth does not forget, even when life vanishes, even when oceans dry or mountains crumble. The memory is preserved in stone. And while you cannot read it all, while you can only touch fragments, those fragments remind you that you are part of a story too vast to end with you. You rest with this awareness, letting the weight of time settle on your shoulders like a blanket. It does not crush you. Instead, it comforts you. For the earth remembers, then nothing is truly lost. Every wave, every breath, every leaf, every footstep, all have left their trace somewhere, however small. And that thought is enough to let you feel held. But even as you sink into the stillness of time, another thought rises, quiet yet insistent. For within these layers of rock and memory, forces are at work that you cannot see. Forces of movement, of shifting, of invisible currents. They shape not only the layers of time, but the very fabric of the world itself. You close your eyes, and in the stillness, you imagine the earth not as a quiet rock beneath your feet, but as a living engine. Deep inside, at a depth you would never see, the heart of the planet moves and churns. There, molten iron flows like a restless ocean. Each swirl, each eddy, each pulse of liquid fire gives birth to something invisible, something that stretches far beyond the soil and the sea. You cannot touch it. You cannot see it. And yet, without it, you would not be here at all. This is the magnetic field. Think of it as the Earth's silent breath, a whisper that fills the space around you, a shield made of movement and time. Just as your own heartbeat sends waves of life through your body, the spinning of Earth's core sends streams of energy through the air and into the cosmos. It is an invisible river flowing around the planet, shaping the very possibility of life. You picture the molten iron as a vast, glowing ocean, restless and shimmering in the darkness of the deep earth. As it swirls, electric currents are born, and these currents stitch together into a magnetic cloak. It is not unlike the way a loom takes loose threads and weaves them into fabric. The fabric in this case is unseen, but it wraps itself around the world, a protective garment against the violence of space. Above you, the sun breathes its own storms, casting out particles that race across the solar system at unthinkable speeds. Without the Earth's magnetic field, those storms would strike the planet unfiltered, stripping away the air, burning the oceans, unraveling the fragile balance of life. But the invisible cloak turns them aside. It bends and shapes the wind of the sun into glowing curtains of light, which dance across polar skies as auroras. Green, pink, purple, blue, the silent music of the cosmos painted on the heavens. You breathe slowly as you imagine this dance, and you realize that the aurora is not only beautiful, but also proof. Proof that the earth is alive beneath your feet. Proof that invisible rivers of energy are at work. Proof that you are wrapped in protection every moment of your life. And yet, this field is not only shield, it is also compass. For centuries, humans have trusted the magnetic field to guide them across seas and deserts. The needle of a compass rests on this unseen web, pointing always toward the magnetic poles. Explorers, sailors, wanderers, all found their way by listening to the Earth's whisper. Without it, countless journeys might have been lost, countless lives adrift in the uncertainty of direction. But it is not only humans who listen. You imagine a bird, small and delicate, flying thousands of miles across open oceans. It does not carry a map. It does not read the stars in the way you do. Instead, it feels a faint pull of the magnetic lines. Like threads on an unseen loom, they stretch across the earth, guiding wings toward faraway lands. Turtles, too, hatch on a quiet beach, then swim across the great ocean, and decades later, return to the same shore. They carry no instruments, no markers, only the silent memory of the magnetic field etched into their bodies. Salmon swim upstream. Whales cross entire hemispheres. Even bees dance in patterns shaped by the faint magnetic currents. You realize that you live within an orchestra of listeners, each species tuned to the field in its own way. where you see only air and sky. They feel invisible rivers, and by them they navigate the immensity of the world. The field is not fixed. It wavers, bends, and sometimes shifts entirely. Over thousands of years, the poles wander. North becomes south, south becomes north. The magnetic cloak turns itself inside out. You wonder what this must mean for the creatures who depend on it, how they adjust, how they adapt. The earth changes, but life bends with it, listening closely, always learning the whispers anew. In this moment of reflection, you see the field as something more than protection or compass. It is also memory. Locked within ancient rocks are faint traces of magnetism, like fingerprints of the Earth's past. When molten lava cools, the minerals inside align themselves to the field of that moment. Solidified, they keep that alignment forever, preserving the history of magnetic wanderings, flips, and reversals. To study them is to read the diary of the planet, written in lines too faint for the naked eye, but enduring across the ages. You picture these rocks as pages scattered across mountains and cliffs, each page whispering, "This is where the pole once stood, this is how the field once curved." Through them, you glimpse a story of change, a reminder that the earth is never still, that even the invisible shield is alive with movement. The thought is both humbling and soothing. You realize that you, too, are carried by forces you cannot see, woven into systems far greater than your senses can measure. You may feel small beneath the stars, but you are wrapped in this cloak, protected by fields that stretch far into space. There is another image that rises in your mind, the magnetosphere. Imagine the earth as a stone placed in a rushing river. Around it, the water bends and flows, creating swirls, eddies, and ripples. The sun's wind is that river, and the earth's magnetic field is what shapes its flow. Vast arcs stretch out behind the planet, like a comet's tail made of energy. These arcs are invisible to your eyes, yet spacecraft have flown through them, feeling the tug and pull of the magnetic breath. Inside this vast structure, satellites orbit safely. Astronauts travel, shielded in part by its embrace. Without it, the technology on which your world now rests, communication, navigation, observation, would be undone by solar storms. The invisible cloak not only guards life, but also the fragile web of human invention. And so, as you rest within this thought, you feel gratitude for something you cannot see. You imagine lying on a quiet meadow at night, watching the aurora ripple across the sky, knowing that what you see is both shield and signal, both danger turned to beauty and guidance given freely. Your breathing slows further as you let yourself drift with the idea that you are always inside this embrace, every heartbeat sheltered by fields born in molten depths. You understand that the earth speaks to you constantly, though without words. It speaks in compass needles, in bird migrations, in glowing skies. It speaks in the silence between storms, in the way oceans are kept whole, in the way air remains clinging to the world. The whisper is steady. It has been there for billions of years. It will continue for billions more, though it changes with wanderings, with flips and reversals. You cannot predict its every shift, but you can trust its presence. You can know that as you drift asleep, as you dream, as you wake, you remain wrapped in it. The invisible rivers flow, always flowing. And as you imagine this endless flow, you begin to wonder, if the earth itself is wrapped in fields of energy, what are the other worlds? Does Mars remember a shield it once had and lost? Does Jupiter, with its giant heart of metallic hydrogen, breathe out a whisper louder than all others? Do distant planets, circling other stars, weave their own cloaks, their own protections, their own secret compasses for creatures you have not yet imagined? Your thoughts drift outward, beyond the earth into space, where other magnetic whispers may wait, calling to those who can listen. Beneath your feet, the earth holds secrets more silent than any cave, more hidden than any forest path. You walk across mountains, deserts, and plains, yet below the solid ground lies an unseen world, an underground ocean, vast and quiet, stretching in forms you cannot easily imagine. You picture the earth's crust as a skin, cracked and folded, beneath which lie aquifers, lakes, and reservoirs. They do not roar like surface seas. They do not shimmer with sunlight. Instead, they sleep in darkness, cradled by rock, untouched for thousands, sometimes millions of years. The water there has not felt the warmth of the sky, has not seen a ripple of wind. It waits, still and ancient, as if guarding memories too delicate to surface. You let yourself drift into this thought, as though lowering a lantern deep into the earth. The light falls on caves or water pools, quiet as a held breath. It falls on streams that flow in darkness, carving pathways through limestone, weaving labyrinths where no human footsteps have ever sounded. These underground rivers whisper not to ears but to stone, shaping caverns into cathedrals of silence. Some of these hidden places are known, vast cave systems like those in Mexico or Slovenia, where explorers dive into flooded tunnels that stretch farther than light can reach. But many remain sealed away, their waters trapped beneath kilometers of ice, as in Antarctica, where subglacial lakes rest beneath frozen lids of unimaginable thickness. One of these, Lake Vostok, has been isolated for millions of years. Its waters may hold microbes untouched by the surface world, life that has never seen sunlight, life that speaks only the language of darkness. You imagine dipping your hand into such a lake. The water is cold, older than memory, and in its stillness, you feel the passage of time itself. Every drop carries a story, the story of glaciers moving, of continents shifting, of climates long forgotten. In those molecules of water lies a record as ancient as fossils, but written in a script of silence. And then, your thoughts turn to the creatures that might exist in such hidden worlds. Tiny microbes drifting in the dark, feeding on minerals instead of sunlight. Communities that have adapted not to seasons, but to stillness. Not to light, but to the eternal patience of shadow. These are forms of life that remind you that existence does not depend on brightness alone. Life is stubborn, creative, always finding a way. Even in silence, even in cold, it thrives. You recall how, in Iceland, warm water gushes from beneath glaciers, heated by the fires of earth below. There, in hot springs hidden under ice, strange organisms grow, using chemical energy instead of the sun. They glow not with light, but with persistence, showing you that life listens even to the faintest whispers of possibility. This idea begins to stretch outward in your mind. If Earth can hide such silent oceans, then what of other worlds? Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, holds beneath its icy crust an ocean deeper than any on Earth. Enceladus, a moon of Saturn, sprays plumes of salty water into space, proof of seas hidden under ice. These are lakes and oceans no sun has ever touched, yet they may cradle life, just as Earth's secret reservoirs do. You begin to see a pattern. Where there is water, even in darkness, life leans close. You do not know yet what shapes it might take, whether microbes or something stranger, but the possibility stirs your imagination like a quiet tide rising within you. Back beneath your feet, closer to home, groundwater flows through porous stone. It is a silent partner of rivers and lakes, replenishing wells, nourishing roots, sustaining forests and fields. Without it, much of life on land would wither. You realize that these hidden waters are not only mysteries but also lifelines, quietly sustaining the visible world. Sometimes in deserts, ancient aquifers store water that fell as rain tens of thousands of years ago. To drink from such a source is to sip from the past itself, to let history flow across your tongue. These waters are precious, finite, reminders of a delicate balance that allows civilizations to rise where otherwise only sand would stretch. Your breathing slows as you hold this thought, that every glass of water may once have lain hidden, waiting in darkness before rising again to the surface. You realize that water is a traveler, cycling from ocean to sky, from river to root, from stone back to sea. Even the hidden lakes are part of this journey, though their pace is measured in centuries instead of days. And then another image surfaces. Imagine a cavern sealed for millions of years, then opened by accident or by human curiosity. The air rushes in and the stillness is broken. The creatures within, adapted to endless quiet, may not survive the sudden change. You understand that secrecy is also a kind of protection, that hidden oceans remain hidden because they must. Their silence is not just absence, but also balance. The thought draws you deeper into a sense of reverence. You feel the earth as a layered body, each stratum carrying a different rhythm. On the surface, rivers roar and rain falls, noisy and visible. But below, in the silent lakes and underground seas, time moves slowly, steadily, patiently. You begin to feel that the hidden waters are like the Earth's own heartbeat, steady but subdued, essential though unseen. In the quiet of this moment, you think about your own hidden depths, the reservoirs of memory, the silent oceans of feeling that you do not always show. Just as the Earth hides water, you hide parts of yourself. Some are meant to be shared. Others rest in stillness, waiting for the right moment, or perhaps never rising at all. You see yourself reflected in the planet, a being of surface and depth, light and silence. And so, the hidden lakes become more than geology. They become mirrors. They tell you that not all things must be revealed to be real. Not all things must be known to have value. Some truths remain in stillness, and their beauty is in their secrecy. As you hold this thought, you feel the weight of mystery not as burden, but as comfort. The unknown does not demand an answer. It invites wonder. And wonder, you realize, is the beginning of every journey. You imagine lying in a boat on a quiet lake at night. Above, the stars shimmer. Below, you sense depths you cannot see. Somewhere far beneath, other lakes and oceans rest. Silent and waiting, you drift between the visible and the hidden, knowing both are parts of the same world. And in this drifting, you wonder, if hidden waters shape life here, what hidden fires, what secret forces lie deeper still within the Earth's body? What other unseen realms might shape the destiny of the surface above? You close your eyes, and the Earth becomes more than stone, more than pressure and water. It becomes a canvas for imagination. Where science leaves space, myth enters. Where facts pause, stories begin to flow. In this quiet space between knowledge and wonder, you begin to design worlds that could exist beneath the crust, not because they are real, but because the human mind is restless in its dreaming. You imagine stepping into a cavern vast as a continent, its ceiling lost in shadows. There is no sun, yet light fills the space. At first, you wonder where it comes from. Then you see it. Crystals embedded in the rock, glowing faintly, like embers of forgotten fire. They are not flames, but minerals charged with gentle luminescence, painting the underground with colors no sky has ever known. The air carries a cool dampness, but it is not empty. Great forests rise here, not of leaves and branches, but of fungi. Towering stalks stretch upward, their caps spread wide like umbrellas of living stone. They shimmer faintly with bioluminescence, casting pools of blue and green across the cavern floor. You walk among them, feeling like a traveler in a land both alien and familiar, where life has reshaped itself to fit the darkness. In your vision, rivers flow, but not as you know them. These streams run with water laced with minerals, glowing softly from within, like veins of light across the earth's skin. They move silently, carrying energy and mystery, feeding lakes that mirror not the stars above, but the glowing crystals overhead. When you kneel to touch the surface, the water is cool, but it feels alive, humming faintly as if holding the memory of heat and stone. This is the architecture of imagined worlds, where every detail you picture has a purpose. The glowing crystals serve as suns, though softer and more patient. The fungi serve as trees, harvesting energy not from light, but from chemical whispers, feeding creatures adapted to this silent abundance. You picture animals with pale skins and sightless eyes, their movements delicate, guided by vibration and scent instead of vision. Some glow faintly themselves, like walking lanterns in the endless twilight. The civilizations your mind creates here are shaped by these constraints. Imagine people who have never seen the sky. Their stories would not speak of stars, but of crystals, not of dawn, but the slow pulsing light of minerals. Their seasons would not be marked by the tilt of earth, but by the rhythms of underground rivers, swelling and shrinking with distant pressures above. Would they know silence differently, you wonder? To live in a world without wind, without rain, without thunder, would their songs be quieter, or would they fill the air with music to replace what nature does not provide? Perhaps their instruments would echo like dripping water, their voices rising in harmony with stone. Their myths might speak of an upper world they have never seen, a place of fire and chaos, just as yours once spoke of hidden worlds below. This is how myth and science entwine. Science tells you of microbes beneath glaciers, of water locked in rock, of pressure and heat shaping the crust. Myth takes those truths and stretches them, clothing them in dream. The result is not a contradiction, but reflection. Your imagined cities of fungi and crystal are mirrors, showing you both the limits of your world and the endless
Races ahead. They do not speak across distance. They remain as though distance never separated them. Think of two dancers who once moved together. They spin apart, drifting to opposite corners of a vast stage. Yet when one raises an arm, the other does the same, perfectly synchronized. You might think they rehearsed or that they carry hidden instructions. But in quantum entanglement, there is no script. Their movements are linked in real time, written not in advance, but in the very moment of choice. That is why it feels like a whisper, not a message that travels, but a truth that simply appears. For you, it is almost impossible to imagine silence without distance. So much of your life is built on separation, here and there, before and after, cause and effect. Yet entanglement seems to fold these things together, weaving two places into one invisible thread. The universe does not ask your permission to be strange. It simply is. Scientists once wondered, if this is a whisper, what language does it use? Is there a hidden code, a signal beneath signals? But experiments showed otherwise. The whisper is not carried across space. It is not a transmission at all. It is more like a mirror, where one side reflects the other instantly. No voice, no journey, only connection. You pause here, because the idea is so tender, so strange. It almost feels like poetry. The cosmos, in all its immensity, chooses to tie together two particles with a bond invisible to everything else. And you are left to wonder, if the smallest things can stay linked across space, what else in this universe might be tied in ways you cannot yet see? In your own life, there are whispers too. A thought of someone you love, arriving before a message does. A memory that rises unbidden, as though carried on an unseen thread. Of course, these are not quantum in the strict sense, but they echo the same feeling. A reminder that distance does not always mean separation. Sometimes connection hums beneath the silence, waiting to be felt. Entanglement does not shout its truth. It will not announce itself like thunder. It lingers like a secret in the still air, revealing itself only when you look closely. That is why it has puzzled minds for so long. It hides in plain sight, its whisper woven into the laws of nature. You can almost imagine the universe as a great loom, weaving its fabric. Stars and galaxies stretch across the threads, but beneath them, entangled particles hum quietly, like knots tying distant corners together. They do not ask to be noticed. They simply hold the fabric in place. Think of it this way. If the universe were a grand story, entanglement would be the hidden rhyme, the echo between two lines far apart in the poem. It is a subtle music that connects the beginning with the end. You might not hear it first, but once you do, it changes the way you read everything. As you rest with this idea, your breath slows. You begin to sense why physicists call it mysterious. It is not just about particles. It is about the very nature of reality. If a whisper can travel without moving, if a response can come without delay, what does that say about the world you live in? What does that say about time, about space, about separation itself? The whisper leaves you with more questions than answers, but that is not a failure. It is a gift, for the universe, in its quiet way, seems to be reminding you that not all secrets are meant to be solved at once. Some are meant to be lived with, carried like a gentle tune at the edge of your hearing. You rest in that tune now, listening without trying to grasp. You let the whisper wash over you like a soft tide. You do not need to understand fully. It is enough to know that the whisper is there, binding distant places with invisible care. And just as you begin to settle into the silence, another thought arises. If entanglement is a whisper, quiet and unseen, how can we be sure it is real? How do you prove a ghostly connection, one that cannot be shouted, only felt? The answer lies not in silence, but in the experiments that dare to listen. You rest in the thought of whispers, how two particles speak without sound. Yet a question lingers, tender but insistent. Is it real or is it illusion? The mind does not settle easily with mysteries. It longs for proof, for signs that can be measured, written down, and shared. And so, you find yourself walking into the patient world of experiments, where scientists move like careful gardeners, tending to fragile possibilities. Their tools are not shovels or seeds, but detectors and beams of light. Their soil is the emptiness between particles. Their harvest is truth. Imagine a quiet laboratory, not noisy with clanging machines, but hushed the way libraries hum with soft reverence. In this space, physicists gather not to break the silence, but to listen to it. They are listening for the hidden rhythm of entanglement. For a long time, skeptics believed that entanglement might be nothing more than a clever trick of statistics, a mirage in the desert of numbers. Perhaps they thought particles were not whispering at all. Perhaps each carried secret instructions from the very start, like two coins marked in advance to land the same way. The universe, they imagined, was simply hiding its cards, giving the illusion of connection when in fact everything had been determined beforehand. This doubt was natural. The human mind prefers a familiar, causes with effects, distance with delay, reasons you can follow step by step. But entanglement refused to play by those rules. And so the challenge was born. Could anyone design a test to reveal whether this bond was genuine or merely a shadow of hidden arrangements? The answer came from a quiet thinker named John Bell. In the 1960s, Bell proposed an idea that would change the way we listen to the universe. His thought was simple in essence, though wrapped in equations. If particles were only following hidden instructions, then their responses would fall into certain limits, like footprints repeating on a narrow path. But if entanglement were real, if the whisper truly crossed space without signal, then the pattern of responses would stretch beyond those limits. Think of it like a pair of dancers again. If they practice a routine in secret, their movements, when separated, would follow that script. Predictable, confined, rehearsed. But if their movements were entangled in the present moment, the steps would break free of the rehearsal, weaving together in a way no hidden script could explain. Bell gave scientists the tools to tell the difference between a memorized dance and a living connection. And so the experiments began. Picture a beam of light split into two, like a river dividing into twin streams. Each photon, a particle of light, carries with it a spin, an orientation as delicate as the tilt of a leaf in the wind. When entangled, these photons share a bond so deep that when one tilts, the other tilts too, no matter how far apart they travel. Scientists built detectors, placed miles apart, to measure these spins. Each measurement was like flipping a coin, asking the particle, which way will you turn? Alone, each result seemed random, but when compared, patterns emerged, patterns that whispered a connection. Time and again, the results spilled beyond the limits of hidden instructions. The dancers were not rehearsing. They were moving in real time, tied by something deeper than distance. Bell's inequalities, as they were called, were broken. The universe had chosen to reveal its secret. Entanglement was not illusion. It was real. You let this sink in slowly, like a stone settling to the bottom of a clear pond. Entanglement was no longer just philosophy or speculation. It had been seen, measured, confirmed. The invisible bond had stepped into the light. Yet the story does not end here. For each experiment raised new questions. Could there be loopholes? Tiny cracks in the design that might let skepticism slip back in? Perhaps the detectors were too slow, or the choices of measurement not truly free. Scientists pressed closer, sealing the cracks, testing again and again with greater care. In recent years, experiments have grown bold. Lasers and satellites stretch entanglement across vast distances. In China, a satellite named Mishi has beamed entangled photons across hundreds of kilometers, proving that the bond holds even when particles are separated by the emptiness of space. In laboratories, entanglement has been tested with atoms, ions, even small groups of particles, always showing the same quiet truth. And still, you sit with the wonder. The bond is real, yet it remains so strange. It does not carry messages faster than light, for that would break other laws of nature. Instead, it shows that reality itself is woven differently than you once believed. Locality, the idea that objects here cannot affect objects instantly there, no longer holds in the same way. The universe whispers across distance, not with signals, but with unity. You begin to see science not as a stern judge, but as a gentle listener. Each experiment is a question asked with patience, and nature replies not in words but in patterns. The patterns, once laid out, tell a story. Particles remain connected, no matter how far they drift. Think of yourself in this story. You too are made of particles, every cell a constellation of atoms. The bond may not tie your daily choices, but it reminds you that connection is the fabric of existence. Nothing is entirely alone. Even in silence, there is a thread. The experiments echo like a mantra, real, real, real. And yet, with each confirmation, mystery deepens. For if the bond is invisible and instantaneous, what does it mean for time? What does it mean for causality? The neat order before and after. You sit with these questions the way you sit with night, knowing that not all darkness needs to be pierced, that sometimes it is enough to rest beneath the stars and feel their quiet light. The story of entanglement is not finished. Scientists continue to test, to push boundaries, to dream of quantum computers and secure communication that use this invisible bond. What began as a fragile suspicion is now the foundation of technologies being built in your lifetime. The whisper is not just poetry. It is also power waiting to be shaped. But beneath all progress, one truth remains. The experiments are not just about machines, but about reality itself. They ask the deepest of questions. What does it mean for two things to be separate? What does it mean for the universe to be whole? You breathe softly as a thought settles in you. Proof has been gathered, equations written, data collected. Yet the essence of it remains like a dream, simple, haunting, unresolved. The bond is real, but what does it tell you about the world? About yourself? About the hidden structure of everything you see? You are left with a sense that science, for all its precision, also walks hand in hand with wonder. It shines a light, but the shadows that remain are not failures. They are invitations. And as you drift deeper into this thought, another curiosity rises like a quiet tide. If entanglement is so deeply real, what does it mean beyond the laboratory? What might it suggest about the connections that thread through your own life? The invisible ties of mind, of love, of awareness itself. You hold something small in your hand. Perhaps it is a phone, glowing gently, a portal to voices and images that travel through invisible waves. You turn it over, feeling its weight. It is ordinary, familiar, yet within it, and within countless other devices scattered across your world, lies a faint heartbeat of something extraordinary, a phenomenon once thought to belong only to distant stars and hidden laboratories. This is a quiet arrival of quantum entanglement into your daily life. Once, entanglement seemed like a secret whispered only in physics classrooms, or in the careful notes of scientists who dared to test reality itself. It belonged to the invisible, a mystery hidden behind chalkboard equations and impossible thought experiments. But slowly, over decades, it has slipped from theory into practice, from dream into touch. You imagine holding two dice. You shake them, let them roll across the table. One shows 3, the other 5. They are separate, their numbers unconnected, their stories independent. But what if every time you rolled, the dice always echoed each other, no matter how far apart they were? If one landed on 6, the other answered with 6, instantly, without hesitation. Not because of hidden strings, not because of trickery, but because they were somehow sharing one story. That, in its essence, is what entanglement has given us, a shared story between particles, no matter how far they drift. And now, that story is not only a dream of physicists. It is being written into machines, into codes, into networks. You close your eyes and imagine a photon, a tiny packet of light. It is born entangled with another, like twins leaving the same cradle. Send one away, across a fiber optic cable, through the glass threads that snake beneath oceans, or even beam through open air. Keep the other in your hand, no matter the distance. When you look closely, you find their dance still aligned, their hidden coin flips still echoing one another. Scientists have used this strange connection to build the foundations of what some call the quantum internet, a network not of signals traveling slowly, but of correlations written instantly between far-flung particles. Already, experiments stretch across cities. In China, photons have been entangled and shared between stations hundreds of kilometers apart, leaping between ground and orbit, from mountain observatories to satellites circling above. You might think, this is distant, unreachable, too large for your hand. But slowly, the gap between cosmic experiment and everyday life narrows. Inside laboratories, entanglement is being harnessed in ways that may change the very structure of computing. Classical computers, the ones you know, are like workers who can only do one task at a time, fast and sequential, carrying instructions step by step. A quantum computer, by contrast, is like an orchestra where entangled particles play many notes at once. Their harmonies interwoven, their outcomes spread across countless possibilities. When you run your finger across a phone screen, you touch glass, metal, silicon. But in the laboratories of the world, engineers are learning to entangle tiny qubits, the building blocks of quantum machines, so they can perform calculations beyond the reach of even the fastest supercomputers. Problems in chemistry, medicine, or climate modeling that would take centuries to compute may one day unfold in hours, perhaps minutes, guided by the silent bonds of entangled states. You picture this future not as a sudden arrival, but as a dawn slowly brightening. The first rays are already here. In 2019, a team at Google announced they had achieved what they call quantum supremacy, solving a problem their machine could answer in minutes, while most advanced classical computer would have taken thousands of years. Others questioned the claim, debated the scale, but the direction was clear. Something new had stepped into human hands. Yet this power is delicate. Entangled states are fragile, like soap bubbles shimmering in sunlight. A stray vibration, a breath of heat, a wandering magnetic field, and the bond collapses, the bubble bursts. This fragility is why quantum computers today live in large, humming refrigerators cooled to near absolute zero, shielded, protected, as if they were rare orchids growing in glass domes. Still, even orchids spread, given time, and the seeds of entanglement are already traveling. Imagine security, the kind you depend on every time you send a message, sign into an account, or make a payment. Classical encryption rests on the difficulty of solving certain mathematical puzzles. Yet with the arrival of quantum machines, some of those puzzles may no longer remain difficult. Codes could be broken, walls could crumble. But entanglement offers not only threat, but also protection. There exists a technique called quantum key distribution, where two parties share secret code by sending entangled photons. If anyone tries to eavesdrop, to peek at the message, the entanglement shatters, and the intrusion reveals itself instantly. It is as if you and a friend were holding a delicate thread made of light, stretched across the world. If someone else tried to cut it, you would feel the tremor at once. In such a way, entanglement becomes not only a puzzle of physics, but a guardian of privacy. Already, banks and governments test these systems. A secure quantum link between Beijing and Shanghai stretches across thousands of kilometers. Satellites beam entangled photons between continents. These are not dreams, but present realities, though still young, still fragile. You bring your awareness back to your hand, back to the device resting there. You might not see it, but within its circuits lie whispers of the quantum world. Transistors that rely on tunneling, lasers that produce photons, sensors that detect light with astonishing precision. The line between the cosmic and the personal is already blurred. The mysteries once confined to chalkboards and particle accelerators now hum softly in your pocket. And this is the quiet truth. Entanglement is not only an idea drifting among stars. It is in your networks, in your codes, in the experiments that will shape tomorrow's world. It is in your hands, whether you realize it or not. Yet, with each step forward, new questions emerge. If particles can remain connected across space, what does that say about distance itself? If we can harness these invisible threads for computation and communication, what might that reveal about the fabric of reality? The bond that began as an echo between two particles now stretches into your life, guiding technologies, protecting secrets, offering glimpses of futures not yet imagined. But behind each application lies a deeper question. Why does the universe allow such connection at all? As you breathe slowly, resting in this thought, You realize that every discovery in your hands is also a doorway leading back into mystery, into questions that have not yet been answered. And softly, without hurry, you feel yourself drifting toward the next wonder. If entanglement can be used, if it can be woven into our tools and networks, then perhaps it can also reveal something deeper about the hidden structure of reality itself, about the quiet stage upon which all particles dance. You lie still, the quiet of evening wrapped around you. Your breath rises and falls like a tide. Somewhere in a hush, a thought begins to take shape. If particles can be linked across distance, what does that say about you? About the thoughts moving in your mind, the feelings stretching between you and another? Entanglement is usually spoken of in the language of physics, measured in numbers, tested in delicate laboratories. But you feel something in it that goes beyond equations. You sense a hint of kinship, a reflection of how life itself seems interwoven. Consider how your body works. Billions of neurons spark and whisper, passing signals across synapses thinner than hair. No single neuron knows the full story of who you are, yet together they create thought, memory, identity. Your consciousness is not in one place. It is a music of many notes, vibrating together. In this way, your mind already carries a kind of entanglement. Each moment of awareness is not the product of one piece, but of connection. A memory is not held in a single cell, but in networks, patterns, bonds. You are, at your core, a being made of relationships. And just as particles across distance reveal a hidden unity, so too do people. Think of the last time you felt someone's presence even before they spoke. The way a friend's silence can still say everything. The way your heart beats faster at another's joy or slows in their sorrow. These are not quantum experiments, yet they feel like echoes of the same principle. That connection is deeper than we can see. You imagine threads of light stretching between every person you have ever loved. Threads that hum when you remember them. Threads that tug when they think of you. You cannot measure these threads with instruments, but you feel them all the same. Perhaps they are woven of memory, perhaps of biology, perhaps of something science has not yet found a name for. Still, the image lingers. You are part of fabric larger than yourself. Science, careful and precise, rarely steps into such territory. But even scientists, when speaking of entanglement, sometimes lean toward poetry. They describe particles as knowing about one another, as sharing information instantly. These are metaphors, yet they reveal how even the most rigorous minds sense mystery here. And what of consciousness? Some thinkers wonder if entanglement could play a role in the way your mind arises from matter. Could the strange bonds of quantum states ripple up into thought, into awareness? The question is far from answered. Some dismiss it, some explore it, but the wonder remains. Could your consciousness itself be entangled with the universe? You feel a kind of spaciousness as you hold this thought. If your mind is not a sealed box, but part of greater weave, then every breath, every thought is connected to a larger whole. Just as a wave belongs to the sea, so too might your awareness belong to something vast. Even if entanglement is not the secret mechanism of thought, it serves as a mirror. It shows you that separateness may be an illusion. That distance, whether between particles or between people, may not be as final as it seems. Close your eyes and remember a moment of stillness with another person. No word spoken, only shared silence. In that silence, you felt togetherness, not through speech, not through touch, but through something subtler. Was it not like a kind of entanglement, where your states align without any signal traveling between you? This is the poetry of interconnection. It is not proof, not measurement, but a way of seeing. Entanglement reminds you that the universe is not a collection of isolated parts. It is a web, a dance of fabric. You are not outside of it. You are within it, woven through. Think of forests. Beneath the soil, trees send signals to one another through networks of fungi, sharing nutrients, warning of danger. The forest is alive not just as individual trees, but as a community, an entangled whole. Your own life is not so different. You live through bonds, through family, through friendship, through the invisible exchange of ideas and care. Think of the stars. Every atom in your body was born in the furnace of ancient suns. You are entangled with their fire, though they burned billions of years ago. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all of it forged in distant hearts of light, now carried within you. The universe is not just around you, it is inside you. And so entanglement whispers of a truth that is both scientific and personal. Connection is a foundation of existence. Particles remind you. Trees remind you. Your own thoughts remind you. As you rest, you begin to wonder, if the universe allows such bonds, if it builds itself not from isolation but from unity, then what else might be possible? Could consciousness itself be a vast, shared field, like a sky in which all minds are clouds? Could the sense of I be just a ripple in something wider, deeper, unseen? The thought is gentle, not urgent. It does not demand an answer. It simply rests with you, like a hand placed softly on your shoulder. You breathe, and the room around you feels both intimate and infinite. You are small, and yet you are part of something immeasurably large. The invisible threads stretch from the tiniest particle to the widest galaxy, and you are among them, entangled in ways you may never fully name. And in this quiet awareness, you begin to feel a question rising. If consciousness is a fabric, if entanglement is a hint of a weave, then where does this fabric truly begin and where does it end? You lie back in the hush of the night, letting your breath settle into the slow rhythm of waves. The stars above feel ancient, and yet their light reaches you now fresh, immediate. As you gaze into the dark, a thought emerges like a tide rising quietly to the shore. Entanglement may not belong only to space. It may stretch across time as well. You're used to thinking of time as a line, a neat arrow pointing from past to future. But in the strange landscapes of quantum physics, time is not always so simple. Sometimes it bends and folds, blurs and overlaps like threads in a woven cloth. And entanglement, that whispering bond between particles, does not ask permission from the ordinary rules you hold on to. It seems to flow through distance as if it were no barrier at all. And perhaps, just perhaps, it flows through time in the same way. Imagine a particle born today, its twin born yesterday. Though they never touched in the same moment, they may still be entangled, connected across the seam of time. What happens to one could echo in the other, not only across miles, but across hours, days, even years. This idea is not just a dream. Experiments hint at it. In laboratories, photons, tiny quantum of light, have been entangled in such a way that their bond stretches not only across space, but across different points in time. Scientists call it entanglement swapping, as if one particle could hand an invisible thread to another in the future, tying knots that cross the arrow of time itself. When you hear this, something in you softens, because, in a way, you already live with time entanglement in your own life. Your present self is tied to your past self. Choices you made years ago ripple into this moment, shaping your path, your breath, your thoughts. You are entangled with memories, some tender, some heavy, but all still alive within you. They tug gently at the fabric of who you are, and you are entangled with your future. 2. The choices you make tonight will ripple outward, touching days not yet born. In this way, you are always part of a dance between past and future, carried by threads you cannot cut. Think of memory. When you remember a childhood moment, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the laughter of someone you loved, you do not only recall it, you feel it. It rises into your present, alive again, though the moment itself is gone. Memory is entanglement with your own past, a quantum thread that time does not erase. And think of destiny, or the sense that certain futures are waiting for you. Perhaps these feelings are not certainties, but whispers in the threads you have not yet walked. Just as entangled particles anticipate each other's state, so too might your present contain seeds of futures already woven into the fabric. Science, careful and precise, explores this with equations. The mathematics of quantum mechanics allows for correlations that stretch across time as naturally as across space. But outside the numbers, the image feels almost mythic. It is as if time is not a river flowing in one direction, but a great sea in which all moments float, some close, some far, yet all connected by unseen currents. You imagine yourself standing on the shore of the sea. Each wave that laps at your feet is a moment in your life, present and vivid. Behind you,